What's up? What's happening, everybody? Hey, everybody. Great to see y'all. Man, getting you in trouble at work? I like that. I'm getting in trouble here at work right now. There we go. Did I see Nepal? I see Ireland. I wish I was in Ireland right now. Wait, it's dark though. I don't want to be someplace dark. I wish it was someplace that's not dark, but that had a little different weather than Atlanta. South Africa. Yeah, maybe South Africa. I've never been there. That'd be good. London. Super dark there. Okay. North Dakota. That would be cool. England. Yeah. Sweden. I bet it's very dark. Israel. It's dark. It's dark all over there, right? It's cold in Boston. Talked to my brother up in Rochester, and he said it was 60-something degrees up there today. What's it like in Hungary or Brussels? Istanbul, Korea, Berlin, Italy, Scotland. Is it cold? Iceland. Is it cold in Iceland? That's a good question. Man, look at this. Cleveland, 65 degrees. Look at that. Russia. Is it cold in Russia today? Super cold in London. We got some Turkey. We got some Brazil. There we go. Russia, 20 degrees Fahrenheit. That's cold. Man. Wow. There we go. So, got a new course. Just came out today. Actually, I kind of released it last night, but I didn't actually announce it, except on my second channel. How many of you are on Rick Beato Live? That's my late night channel where I get on and we talk about everything. Last night I read my kindergarten report card there, where it said that I started getting in trouble by hitting people, and it was pretty insane actually. I went on. It was a marathon, right, Joe? I see Joe there. It was a marathon session. It was hilarious. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed over to my Rick Beato Live YouTube channel. It's pretty hilarious there. I just goof around. There's Joe. That's my channel, just to goof around and do stuff on. Oh, so this course is called Advanced Harmonic Concepts. It's something that I've been wanting to do related to composition and improvisation both. Taking the nomenclature that I talk about all the time on here and in my Beato book, where I take all these different types of triads, seventh chords and everything, and use a lot of the ones that you're not used to using. For example, major 7 suspended 4 chords, minor 7 sharp 5, or minor 7 flat 6, or Lydian augmented chords, major chords with a tritone in the bass. And I wrote a tune that has all these different chords. It's got about, 40 some odd chords in it that modulates all over the place. And I talk about how to approach tunes like that for improvising. How do you write melodies over it? What are the correct chord scales that you use on it? And how you actually will take these things and use them in improvisation and in writing, even if it's really simple ideas. So I talk about a concept which I haven't done a video on, which is multifunctional harmony, which is how a chord can function in different ways. A particular chord, I use the chord in the video where I talk about A major over E flat, for example. That would be a chord that could have many different functions. Essentially, any chord, any scale that the chord can come from can be, and these are actually very simple concepts that you could even use in pop writing, but it's chords that can function as dominant chords, or a chord can function as a Lydian chord, depending on how it's used and what context it is. It has to do with what's coming before it and what comes after it. So I'll use chords in different ways in the way that I'm teaching this. So it's really, really cool. I've got a lot of PDFs. I think there's 9 PDFs. There's a bunch of play along things with it. So Lydian, what is that, Greg? How's this? There we go. Anyways, I like that. Lydian is great. There we go. Lydian augmented. Yeah, they're all the same thing, right? So anyways, I also have, I didn't do a Cyber Monday sale yesterday because I was really, really super busy in here working on stuff. And this is not just for guitar. My new course is for anything. It's actually has, I've got solos in it. It's got piano. It's got guitar. It's got tons of guitar. For guitar, a lot of scale diagrams, a lot of neck diagrams, all this kind of thing. All the arpeggios for everything, all the scales for everything, all over the neck. It's got all the chord voicings. It's got an arpeggio etude. I actually am going to put a second arpeggio etude in it today as well. I just haven't uploaded it yet. It's got all the chord scales in a way to practice them, and it's pretty cool. Also, Beato book and the YouTube transcriptions I have on sale today for, oh man, probably $30 off or so together as a bundle. For those of you that don't have either, that's about 400 and over 400 pages of stuff there. To a 103-page PDF and a 407-page PDF. So, anyways. So you can get those. I also put the YouTube transcriptions on sale for $25, 103 pages. Is their tab. There's tab in all my YouTube transcriptions, not in the Beato book, but there's tab. The Beato book is more, it's not necessarily that you need transcriptions for the reading part of it. The reading part of it is pretty simple. If you can read basic treble clef, you can do it. Anyway, so if you want to get my Beato etudes, that's what you were hearing first when you hear my new intro song. So now I'm using my new, this song is a song. This piece is off my record that's on my website. It's called the Rick Beato Preludes and Etudes Volume 1. I'm already working on Volume 2. And it's got 14 tunes on it. It's only available on here. It's not on Spotify. It's not on Spotify. It's not on iTunes or anything. For those of you that bought the book yesterday, so the book is on sale right now. I've had it on sale basically for the past probably 5 days or so to go through the holiday weekend. So the Beato book is only in PDF. The YouTube transcriptions, all my stuff's only in PDF. But the courses come with videos. The courses are videos and PDFs and audio files. So they come with more stuff like that. Are the PDFs searchable? Well, you can ask all the people that have bought it because there's a lot of them on this right now. So, anyways, I do not give Skype lessons. I don't give Skype lessons. I tried giving Skype lessons. I had a few Skype students. I'm not, it's one of the things about Skype lessons. The great thing is that you can do them, but the other thing is that you can't react to people in real time since there's a delay. And that's really one of the things about, that's one of the only things about, that's one of the only things about doing things this way is if people try to play things with, you can't play with anyone. So if, if you're trying to critique somebody on their rhythm or something, or saying that they're off time, you can't really do that. So, So that's really kind of one of the problems with teaching Skype lessons, where you're trying to give feedback to people. And I know that because my son Dylan was taking with his piano teacher before he quit lessons. His piano teacher lived an hour away, and there were certain times when we couldn't get there, and it's really difficult to communicate. I mean, he could play, and you could see, and you can make comments on technical things. I can watch somebody if I'm playing. If I'm giving a lesson and someone's got their guitar and they're playing things for me. Yeah, Dylan quit lessons. He did about a year ago. So if you're playing something for me, I can say, okay, well, let's see here. I can say, oh, well, play this chord here, but hold on one second. There we go. Look at that. Yeah. If I'm playing something technically, you can see what I'm doing here, but you can't really comment in real time. So that's the problem. So you have to kind of wait till the person's done, as opposed to saying, hey, right there, that you're dragging or you're rushing or you should try this fingering. It's just not immediate enough with that. So it's tough to do that. That's really my only issue with doing Skype like that. But that's coming as quicker internet speeds happen. Eventually, that'll be able to happen anyways. It'll be just like being there. So, and that's not that far away, honestly. I mean, if I had, the problem is that both ends need to have the same capacity. You have to have hello to Iran. Excellent. Both things have to be at the same speed. So we don't have Google high speed here. Yeah, Joe said latency. We don't have, I can't get, because of where I live, I can't get more than 48, what is it, 48K? I'm not sure what my upload speed is not super fast. It's pretty much just, it's pretty much as fast if I go outside. So that's the only issue with this. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what, let's try an experiment here, because I never try experiments. 45 megabits per second, that's what it is. Okay, we're going to try a little experiment right now. We're going to try and go outside and see if this works. Hold on, I'm going to do this. Dial up. Okay, so let's see if my battery pack works here. Then I got to bring my, hold on, I got to bring my stand. We never do this, right? This is the kind of stuff I do on my live channel. I go and I do. We haven't begun doing trips around town yet, but that's coming. We'll go do a coffee run or something. I actually need to do a coffee run. I've had no coffee at all today, and I know it seems like people think I'm totally caffeined out all the time, but hold on one second. I'm putting this right here so I can fix my stand. I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. Blair Witch. I know, it's a total Blair Witch scene here. Hold on. Oh, this is really getting cool here. Hold on. Okay, so we're going to go outside and we're going to see if this works. If I lose people, whoops, that was my pump organ there that just got smashed. Okay, let's see here. Ceiling commercial, exactly. Okay, so it's... We're going to go out here. Nice fall day. I only have a t-shirt on, but here in Atlanta, it's, you can see, it's nice. Got the leaves are falling. How cool is this, right? It's actually warm enough that I'm outside with a t-shirt in Atlanta. And I got to brush some leaves off my chair. I'm going to sit down. A lot of time screwing around. There we go. Nice leg. How's that? Does that look cool? That's my yard. Yeah. Beato Spring Collection. Anyways, does this work? Is this lagging at all? This works perfectly, right? Anyways, so my studio is at my place. Yeah. Works perfectly, right? Awesome. I should stream outside. If the weather. I was streaming. I think I was doing a stream. I think it was on Facebook or something a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was here. I can't remember. But I was outside, and then our cat got outside, and our cats never get outside, so I had to carry the cat in, and then it started pouring. So, it's really beautiful today. Beautiful fall day. You have to make holes in their walls so you have a good streams, right? Exactly. Is it freezing more often? Natural lighting. I know. Look, I'm 55 years old. People were. So I was talking about this yesterday in my late night thing about how people were complaining about my jump cuts, which I think is really hilarious. These are the things that when you're on YouTube and you're actually making videos, it's it's a whole nother skill set to know is actually editing. Not only just editing, but you have to know about cameras. Okay, so when I started this, I didn't know anything about cameras. I didn't know anything about editing video. Although editing video is pretty much like running a DAW. There's a lot of similarities between I use Final Cut Pro, but Final Cut Pro and Logic is pretty it's pretty similar. So that was pretty easy, that part of it. And the theory behind audio editing in a DAW and editing video editing is very, very similar. All the concepts are the same. You use crossfades. In Pro Tools, I use the multi-tool. Everybody makes fun of me that I do that now. Michelle and Aaron make fun of me because I use the multi-tool, because in Pro Tools, that's what we always used to use because it was the fastest. So, but you do use crossfades in the same way. Multi-tool is where it's at for Pro Tools. I'm sorry, but that's, honestly, that was the one thing that kept me from using Logic more is the not having the multi-tool in Logic. Although they improved it, and I have my version of Logic has all the same key commands as Pro Tools. So that was the thing that I don't know if I've told this story, but there's a guy his name's Robert Hunt. He works at Apple. I think he still works there. And he developed Logic for Apple. And I did an interview with him, and he asked me all these things I did. It's right after Logic 10 had come out, and he explained to me that they never they had no budget for advertising, which is really weird. But have you ever seen a Logic ad anywhere? Have you ever seen, check out the new Logic Pro? Because Apple gives them no budget. So he said to me, well, since I own Logic and Pro Tools, why don't I use Logic as my main DAW? And I said, because I'm not fast enough using key commands and with editing audio, except, man, this is annoying here. So it was difficult, especially working with acoustic instruments a lot. If you're working with digital instruments, Logic is no problem at all. And and using it for things like doing orchestral mock-ups like that, great, no problem at all. But for editing things like acoustic guitar and drums and things like that. Now, it got better in Logic 10. They definitely improved that. So I think that, I'm curious to see where DAWs go in the future, because I don't think that there's been a whole lot of advancement in them. I think that about, I think there was a real plug-in revolution that happened, 10 years ago when UAD started. I think that there were a lot of different plug-in companies. I think that people were developing cool things, but I really feel like things have slowed down. Just like there was the explosion in all pro audio gear, with the mic pre's and the 500 series, that format was really conducive to building things, mic pre's, EQs, compressors, all that thing, to have something that you could actually slide these things in and use was really great. There were all these microphone companies were coming up with great things, and it actually dovetailed in what was happening in the music business when budgets were going downhill and producers were forced to go and have home studios. And pretty much every one of my friends eventually moved to home studios, and that was that was the big renaissance in pro audio. And you look at companies like Vintage King. How many of you use Vintage King audio here in the States? How many of you know about Vintage King and use that for pro audio? I'm curious to see if who buys anything from Vintage King, because I think that they were yes, my Hackintosh is extremely stable. It's never crashed in 4 months now, ever. So so I bought most of my stuff from my studio from Vintage King. There's a guy in the LA store named Jeff Ehrenberg who's a super great guy. He runs the store out there. And when I first built my studio, one of the things you have to do in order to record a drum kit is you have to have enough mic pre's to do that. So that essentially involves to record a live group properly, you need at least 24 tracks, pretty much. You can do with 16 tracks if you're going to be if you have some type of a console or a summing mixer where you can blend tracks so that you don't have as many audio tracks. At the time, they didn't have anything like the UAD Apollo hadn't come out yet, and when it came out, the first thing that came out was only the 8-channel one, and it wasn't easy. There were still limitations with the bandwidth getting from the Firewire 800 cord into the computer, and you could only run X amount of tracks with it. It became better with Firewire 800, but it wasn't as good, and really nothing was as good. You couldn't use as much RAM. You were limited to 4 gigs of RAM with Pro Tools at the time. Pretty much all the DAWs were limited. And then all the things like Cubase and Logic, everything just blew past Pro Tools. Everything became 64-bit. You had offline bouncing. You didn't have anything like that in Pro Tools until really Pro Tools 11 and 12. So they finally caught up. And I would say, so I run Pro Tools 10 in my control room, and then I have a smaller version that I do use for making my videos here, where I use the subscription like everybody else, Pro Tools 12. So, I keep hearing about Studio One, the PreSonus DAW, that it's really good. Cubase has been great, and all my friends that use Cubase are really have always been psyched about it. And I think that now, with all the bad stuff that's happened with Apple, that I would say 10 years ago, the majority of people that I knew that were professional into production and recording all use Macs. virtually everyone I knew. Occasionally, there were a couple producers like David Bendeth used Nuendo, and certain people would use Nuendo or Cubase, but very, very few people used it. And every mixing section, when I was producing, any mixer that I had to send things to, they had specific, if I was sending a song to Chris Lord-Alge, okay, it has to be, you know, in a Pro Tools session, it has to be this. And then I would have people, I had a guy named Mark Endert, who's a great, great mixer, who's worked with Maroon 5 and Train, and he's mixed a lot of really big hit records. He's a really talented guy, but he did, I want to say that he did Fiona Apple. He did a couple of her first couple of records. He at least engineered, and he might have produced them, or he did one of her records. It sounds amazing. Anyways, Mark had a thing where you would, all the guys want different stuff, but Mark would want to have the session file would have to be put separately, uploaded, and couldn't be sent with the session. And I'm not sure, he said that they would get corrupt for some reason, which I thought was really interesting. But then I had Chad Blake, I don't know if you guys know Chad Blake, he's a phenomenal mixer, but he mixed a record of mine probably 6 years ago or so. And Chad he lives in Wales, and I had to send all my files to him via, what is the thing, it's a really old file format, transport, what's it called? It's the way that Digidesign used to send files. I forget what it was called. It was Digi something or other. So I had to send his files, and his internet would only work. I could only send it at certain times, but and then Chad only works in the box, which is really amazing. And he said this particular record, we had bought, the band I worked with was this band Need to Breathe, and we had bought a Lexicon 480L for the session because we wanted a really lush reverb sound on it. That was I did a record called The Reckoning with them. And so when it came down to mixing, Digi-Delivery, that's what it was. Robert, thank you. That's what it was. So when we would want to, so we'd have to commit, since Chad was doing this, we would have to commit to the tracks, to the reverb thing, to the reverb sounds. And I don't know if you guys know you can do this, but with outboard gear, you can always bounce your reverb sends, your delay sends, anything with outboard gear. You can, the dog's gonna poop right back here, so. That's Maddie. Hey, Bud, come here, Bud. Bud, come here. This is Bud, everybody. Bud, can you say hey? There we go. That's Bud, that's Maddie. What are you guys doing over there? Hey, Bud, what's going on? Anyways, so, photo bombing, exactly. Nice doges, right. So, so anyways, so you can always bounce effects to a stereo track. And this is really something that I've always done because I've always used outboard gear. So if you take a stereo track and let's say you say, okay, I'm going to take my snare reverb, and you have a nice, let's say you have something really basic that you can buy for $100, like a Yamaha SPX90, okay? You can get an SPX90 for $100 on eBay. So it has some great reverbs. And it has some great delays. And there's certain people like Joe Barisi, for example, who's a great mixer and engineer and producer, who uses it for his snare reverb, for example. He says Joe uses, I think, Program 2 for reverb. And you can get it for $15 on eBay. I know that's ridiculous how cheap they are now, but I think they're 8-bit or something like that, but they sound great. That stuff doesn't matter. You just always go by what your ear tells you with any type of audio gear like that, because, you know, there's a lot of great early digital, for example, they're early digital units. Like, I have an old Boss sampling delay, for example, that is it's a silver delay pedal, and it sounds great. I mean, it's a really, really great pedal. And it's probably 8-bit. It's got to be 8-bit. But it's really one of the best sounding delay pedals. It's called a sampler delay or something. It's got to be 20 years old. It doesn't matter, like I said. So there's one, you like that block? There is one program on the SPX 90 that Andy Wallace used all the time for his bass sounds. And anytime you hear any of his mixes, those of you that know his mixing, he would always use the SPX 90 program 15, which is symphonic, which is a flanging sound. Basically, it's a flanging or pitch change sound. But it makes the bass in stereo, and it gives it some movement in the left-right image, so that the bass, which tends to occupy the center channel, actually has some movement to it. And that's really what you want to have if you want your bass to stand out and sound wide. You'll find a lot of the records, you'll hear a lot of chorusing on records, like, for example, Sting would use chorus on his bass, or Jeff Ament on the first Pearl Jam record would use chorus on his bass. And SPX 90 is really great for that sound. So what I would do is I would take my bass, I'd get it sounding like I wanted in the mix, then I would send it out to the SPX 90. I'd take a stereo, it would be a mono send to it, because it just had a mono input. Take the stereo input into an input in Pro Tools, and then on the version of Pro Tools that I was using, you'd have to slide it back up 10 samples, because anything that went out to an outboard piece of gear back then, even though it had delay compensation, I would always notice it'd be off by about 10 samples. I would slide it back, and then you use the volume fader, which is basically your send level. If you were using a if you were using a send, you would raise the send up. Well, it's the same thing. If you just have to think of it, the stereo audio of the wet signal that's been recorded is exactly the same as going through the piece of gear. But when you send the session to Chris Lord-Alge and you say, hey, I want to use this bass sound for this, then he just uses it. So that's an old trick that we used to have to commit the thing. So with Chad, for example, we said to him we wanted to change one of the delay sounds. So we were using some super long pre-delays on this record, like over 100 milliseconds, probably for the 480L, maybe 105 millisecond delay, and then really long reverbs, over 4-second long reverbs. And it was really a beautiful sound. So I said to Chad, hey, could you adjust this thing? He said, well, I don't have an outboard gear. And I said, really? I said, I knew you were all in the box, but what do you use? He goes, I use an emulation of the 480L from Altiverb. And Chad Blake mixed the Black Keys, as Joe said, which is one of the best. The record that he did with Everlasting Light on it is amazingly good sounding. It's super fat, and a lot of the sounds of that record are things that Chad did. All the distortion on it, he said that it was 10 tracks. He told me that when he got it, the record had 10 or 12 tracks, all recorded analog, really dead drum sounds, because they recorded it at Muscle Shoals in Alabama, and they had really dead heads. I think he said the hydraulic heads, or I knew a guy that worked at the studio. He said, oh man, they have hydraulic heads, but they tracked it all to tape. But when he got it, Chad has a way of creating ambience by using distortion, and he never uses reverb on anything, rarely. So this, for him mixing this Need to Breathe record was unusual because it had reverb. Now, he had done tons of records in the past. The Brothers album, that was the one, exactly. He had done many records where he used reverb back in the day. He'd worked with everybody from Peter Gabriel to Chad Blake. You can look up his discography; it's unbelievable. I mean, he's an incredibly good mixer. But that particular record, he did 2 of the Black Keys record, Brothers, and the one after it he did, and they just have a massively big sound, incredibly big low end, really big low end. And I asked him about that in particular. I said, how do you get your low end so accurate? And he said, Deadheads, nice Jerry Garcia bootlegs. He had these $15,000, I want to say either made in Scotland or Ireland monitors, really high-end monitors, powered monitors that went down to probably about, at a low volume, I want to say 30 cycles it would go, 30 hertz. And he could really get the low end tight and have as much low end as he possibly could. Dave Fridman would be a great interview, actually. I love the Flaming Lips. That would be incredible. But he would get the low end super tight, and it would be massively big. And the only way you can do that, it's tough if you don't, you have to have a subwoofer to really get the biggest low end. And I would do things where I always have my subwoofer on a separate send now that I'm retired from producing, right? Or at least in the meantime, depending on how many Beato books I can sell here and albums and courses and things. But if you split off and have the ability to isolate your subwoofer, you can go in and see, you can actually do A/B tests with other mixes to see just what frequencies are coming in below, from let's say 60 hertz and below. And it'll let you know if you can get away with 30 hertz. You typically can't get away. It's really hard to get away with these super low frequencies because it takes, if you have too much low end, it takes the energy away from your mix. I think it makes it feel really bogged down. So that's probably the okay. So Doggy just asked about the discount. It's just for sale. The bundle is for sale on my I have my YouTube transcription and my Beato book as a bundle just on sale on my store. So just go to my website. Hair video, hair book, is that available? No hair products, I tell people my hair just sticks up like that. I don't know why. So it's like my hair kind of is disappearing into this. What is that? What it looks like? It looks kind of white. It is white, but it looks like it's disappearing into sunlight or something. You can talk and read at the same time. Great multitasking. Yeah, eyebrow dye. I don't dye my eyebrows. It's literally, I don't do a Georgia accent because I'm from New York. My eyebrows are actually black. I know, it's very weird, right? My kids think I dye my hair white. It's like, what? Did I buy my gray hair color? No. Super white. It's weird because my brother, who's 4 years younger than with me, has all dark hair. My eyebrows are 20 years old. That's pretty funny. Anyway, so my new course is called Advanced Harmonic Concepts for Composition and Improvisation. So I think it's my best course yet. I think it's really, really, really strong. REM, I just got asked about REM. You know what? It's really interesting that talking about REM, because I've never talked about REM, or I don't talk about REM much. I'm a huge REM fan, and they're from Athens. I live in Atlanta. Athens is probably 45 minutes from here, Athens, Georgia. And The new course is available right now. It's on my website. It's in the Beato Music Academy is where you go, but go through my website. Anyways, Aaron is doing well, and we are starting full on the ear training course to try and finish it. We're on the full on sprint right now because Aaron and I are working together on it. He's doing all the programming that it makes that are to use on it, and I'm doing all the video. So there's a huge component of both. Thank you for that about my album. Okay, that's cool. So the ear training course is going to be, it's 13 videos. It starts with intervals. It's and it builds up into triads, added note chords, seventh chords, then into modal chords, harmonic function of chords, then into things like bitonal chords, chord scales, polytonal chords. So is it free? It's not free. No, because it's not even done, but it will not be free. The new course is available, yes. For all of you, I'm launching the new course, and I announced it at the beginning of the video that that this is free. My 360 videos or 70 videos are all free. So, you know the old thing, if you build it, they will come, from Field of Dreams. This is the thing. It's like, okay, I built this channel here. Now I've built my website out, which I don't know if anyone ever noticed this. How many on here actually went to rickbeato.com before, let's say, July, before I launched my new website? Did anyone go to that and see my production stuff with my long beard and everything? You can always pay more for a course. You can actually, my PayPal is rickbeato1@gmail. So you can always, if anybody wants to donate, I took down my Patreon today. Remember I said I was going to take down Patreon? I took it down today. So anybody that was on Patreon, you get your money back for all that. I don't believe in Patreon. I'm going to bring the beard back after I do the ear training course. After all the videos are done, I'm going full on with the beard. Massive. I'm going to grow it down to here. Probably this far, like my old beard was. So that'll take probably about 6 months or so. Yeah, it's gonna be ridiculous. I can't wait till I can grow my beard. It's gonna be a wizard. Rick Rubin shudders. He will shudder. Somebody said, "Oh, you're trying to be Rick Rubin." I said, "What are you talking about? That's some wispy beard." I love Rick Rubin, but man, he's got a wispy beard. My beard is a Santa Beato, exactly. Please talk about compressors. I have a full video on compressors. Man, it hit 150,000 views recently. It came out without any fanfare at all. No one watched it at all. And now it just kind of snuck up, and I noticed it the other day that it's got 150,000 views on it. So, how many people watched my Prokofiev video yesterday? And did anybody, John Petrucci Claus? That is hilarious. Did anybody watch my video from yesterday about Prokofiev? If you didn't, you should watch it. Because Nare Soul, who's a great YouTuber who just hit 1,500 subscribers because of you guys, is playing the piano in it, and she did this. She did a video cut for me of the third of one of the licks from. It's a lick. It's from the third Prokofiev Piano Concerto in C major. It's from the first movement. That lick comes in at about 6 minutes into the piece, and it's pretty smoking. That piano concerto is amazing. So I actually I followed her channel before, and I didn't even know her, but she's friends with a friend of mine. my buddy Yashar was talking about this, and I said, I asked him if he had the music to it, because I couldn't get that little piece of the music to actually do a video of, and I've been wanting to use that thing. Per coffee of gent. I was wanting to use that, but I could not get a copy of it. So Nare, I got on Skype with, and I had never met her before, and I asked her, I said, hey, can you play that Prokofiev lick, this particular one? And I showed her, I played it on YouTube of Martha Argerich playing it. And she said, I think she said I've never played it, but she knew how it went just by ear. And she said, I said, could you do a video of that for me with your overhead camera? Because her videos, you should check them out. She's got great videos on practicing. She's a Juilliard grad, and she goes to school in Toronto at the Royal Academy, where Greg Wells, any of you that watched my interview with Greg Wells, that's where he went to college, I believe. So about an hour later, she sent me that clip, and she said, oh, it'll take me a couple days to do. And literally an hour later, she says, check your mail. And she sent me that. I mean, she worked that thing up in 1 hour. Her name is Nare Soul. It's Nahresol. You should subscribe to her YouTube channel. She's awesome. And she does a lot of really great practicing techniques that are really applicable for any instrument. And she talks about, there's a lot of things that piano pedagogy is way possible, or piano pedagogy is much more developed than any other instrument, I would think, other than violin, because there are so many methods, and so many composers were pianists that they've just had hundreds of years to develop technique. And so when you see people like her, for example, and you watch the videos that she does on practicing, she has these really short, really well shot videos on practicing. And there are things, if you do rhythms, like we'll do, let's say you're taking a 16th note pattern. If you're doing something like that, if you go da 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 da, you do a long, short, long, short, long, short, long, and then you do long, short, long, short, long, short. If you take a group of, let's say, 8 16th notes, the first time, if you're going long, short, long, short, long, there it is. That's how it's written right there. Nahresol. If you do that, so you play an eighth, an 8th 16th rhythm, da 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 da. Then the grouping of the second to third note is super fast, but the other ones are slow. And then if you go da 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 da, you go short, long, short, long, short, long. Then the first to second notes you play fast, and you can play them faster than you could actually play them in a line. So you actually build your speed, and it trains your motor neurons in your brain to play those things faster. Da 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 da, or da 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 da. And then you play the line after that, and you're able to play it faster. Well, she goes through different techniques where she does even more groupings. And it's really fascinating. But these are, a lot of the things she does are piano pedagogy, practicing techniques that have been developed over hundreds of years, and it's really amazing. So for guitar players out there, if you want to learn about how to practice, other than watching my channel, you should read piano books, watch Nare Soul's videos, and there's a lot of practicing strategies for improving your technique, improving your speed, and your accuracy. And it has so much to do with training the brain. It's very much about neurology. It really is. Any world-class musician, whether it's somebody whether it's Eddie Van Halen or Vinnie Colaiuta or Martha Argerich, anybody that has super technique has incredible, motor skills, motor neuron skills, and tremendous benefits to guitar playing too. It definitely works for guitar. All these things work for guitar. Now, guitar presents its I almost said Yngwie, actually. Did I say Yngwie? No, I didn't. Maybe, did I say Yngwie? I said Eddie Van Halen. But guitar presents particular problems because of the pick and the string spacing. So things that would work for any other instrument, piano or any other linear instruments, doesn't necessarily apply to the guitar as much because of things like hybrid picking, sweep picking. When you see people like Frank Gambale that will play 3 notes on one string, 1 note on the next, 3 on the next, so that the pick can go in a particular way. If you use all odd number of notes on a string, you're going down, up, down, down, for example. So you go down, up, down, down. That's how you can move, is the economy picking, exactly right. So Frank does that. He's incredibly if you want to get Nare Soul's YouTube, I know it doesn't come up for some reason when you search it. Go to my video from yesterday. I have a link to her YouTube channel in there. It's right in my video from yesterday. You can get it right out of the description, and I put a bit.ly link in there, so you go. Thank you, thanks for doing that. Who's ever just doesn't work. Anyways, so this kind of guitar practice, Frank Gambale was the first guy. People have been doing sweep picking forever. You can get the link for her channel. You can get it off yesterday's video in the description. But so Frank really, with all of his sweep picking videos that he did in the 80s, I think created a whole new generation of I think that he expanded the guitar. I know other people did sweeping. Tal Farlow did sweep picking, but he didn't do sweep picking like Frank Gambale. And Frank can play some unbelievably intricate lines. Really, really incredibly intricate lines. What's my favorite 80s instructional tape? I love Rick Graham too. Rick is awesome. I don't know Rick, but he's a great player. But Frank's sweep picking is insane because his old Mode series, my God, if Frank, how he wears all those crazy get-ups? Daryl Gable, who's one of my dear friends, check out Daryl's instructional videos because they're excellent. He has a new online course that he's put out recently, and Daryl's one of my really good friends, and I talk to Daryl all the time. The Pat Metheny Etude book I've never seen. I've never seen Pat's Etude book. Anybody know Pat's Etude book? Because I've always thought about it. It's all his warm-ups, I'm pretty sure, right? Yes. Yes, Daryl and I are really good friends. Really good friends. So you guys, Brett, you have that? Mike, you have Metheny's book? His warm-ups? I just never think to get it, and I would actually like to have that. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna buy that. I'm gonna buy that actually today. How do you like that? Frank's fashions were amazing. Frank Gambale's fashions in the 80s for his videos. Oh man, he had the green guitar. He got, Okay, so since Patreon is gone, Leo says this is a great alternative. There you go. I always tell people, okay, you can do the thing right here on YouTube. What's it called? Like Leo just did. I appreciate that, Leo. That is amazing. You can always donate to my YouTube here. What do I think about Zappa on guitar? Love Frank. Love Frank. I'm going to have Dweezil on as a super chat. That's what it's called. I'm going to have Dweezil on sounding off. So I'm gonna have Daryl on sounding off. Greg Howe would be great sounding off too. Not Moon Unit though. I have the Zappa transcription book of Steve. It's insane. Steve's transcription book is so great. I love it. Anyways, and there we go. Boom. Look at that. Done. Love it. The Fibonacci, Suzanne, I see. You got to give me more than one day. You said that last night. Guthrie. I've talked to Guthrie, or I've emailed Guthrie. He wrote me back, said he would be on. I need to get back to him. I need people to remind me about this stuff too. I literally get so many emails from people on who to have on sounding off, and I still I've got mine with Warren from Produce Like a Pro that I haven't put out yet. I have to finish editing that, and I'll put that out in the next couple days. And Jacob Collier I've written to, never heard back from him. You know, you can't you can't get everybody. So anyways, all right, so I'm off here, everybody. Buy my book, buy my record, buy my YouTube transcriptions, buy my new course. That's the reason I came on here today, everybody. And if you can't get enough of me, you can get my really funny Rick Beato Live. Go to my second channel because I do that at night. It's usually late night. Why not sounding off with what was that? With what kind of musicians? Everyday musicians. I could do that, you know. I was on I'll just tell you the story one time. So Amy Nolte, when she was on Periscope, she used to do an interview thing on her Periscope channel. And this before I had YouTube or anything. So she wanted to interview me, but she would go on late at night, and she's on the West Coast. So it was midnight here. So I had to call into her Skype, and she held the phone up like this with me on it. And and then she talked to me like this, and then held the phone up like that. Interview Vinny. I got to get in touch with Vinny. I always forget to write to him too. So anyways, all right, I'm going in. It's actually getting a little chilly out here. I've had no coffee today. I need to have coffee right now. You guys are amazing. If you're around tonight, then thank you, David. You are the man. There we go. And boom. Yeah. Blocked. Hold on. Block. There we go. Blocked. I love it. My blood is espresso. That's true, actually. That is actually true. But I am going to get a coffee. I literally have had no coffee today. What time is it? Is it 5 yet? I don't even have any idea. Yeah, all right. There we go. All right, so if you guys are on later, if you join my Rick Beato Live channel, I'll probably be on later tonight. Okay? You guys rock. See ya.